guys, and welcome back to another video. In this video we continue on the previews of all the positions, this time going through the midfield mid-price of madness, I guess you would call it, as we have quite a lot of people, or players I should say, in the 880k. I capped that out as a mid-pricer, or that sort of the mid-pricer range. It's right around that 86, 85 range, and then I'm going to go down to around about that 350 or so K range, just above the rookie, the highest rookie in Lawler at 340. Feels weird to say that given that last year, if my memory is correct, Harley Reid was 300k, and that was the highest priced rookie. So they're jumping up a little bit. I would have liked to have probably seen it stay structured at the sort of trying to cap the magic number at about that 900k. 9, but they do have to move it because of the salary or whatever. So anyway, but let's just jump straight into this video here. So as you can see, for those watching along on YouTube, I've got it here up, and Jai Newcomb we discussed in the Premo midsection, but we're moving on to Willem Drew. Willem Drew just sort of plays much to the same of the James Rowbottom and Jared Berry and George Hewitt, and you could almost say Jared Chris, but you've got Hewitt, Berry, Rowbottom, and Drew, all I sort of classify as those guys that are going to play the run-with role. They're going to be heavily contested players. They're going to not be much value there because they're just run-with roles. They're not going to get quantity of possessions. They're mostly just going to dull down the opponent, and that's why that they're in and around the 80s, just because they're not the ball winners. They're the ball stoppers, I guess, in a way. So, I just don't see there being value there for Drew, Rowbottom, Berry, and Hewitt at the moment, especially with, if you think about it, Drew's got, he's got Butters and Rosie and Horn Francis in front of him for ball winners, as well as they're getting Moraes, who I expect to debut early, who was a really, really highly ranked prospect early on in the draft year. So that could dull that down a little bit. James Rowbottom, they've got Caden Cleary coming through, as well as Angus Sheldrick, who they just released a video on, who looks to be training the house down. I know, pre-season, but that's just another type of ball winner that's probably going to dull down the Rowbottom scoring, those two, as well as in future years, if this was to happen, you'd have even more guys coming through that range, that midfield as well. And then Jared Berry, same thing, Ashcroft brother, another Ashcroft brother coming through, as well as Will on the rise. That could dull his progress a little bit. Also, we've just heard, something that could infect the rookies, which could also help Berry a little bit for the first opening 2 rounds, is that Kitty Coleman isn't probably going to play. So I suspect that you may see Levi move to maybe a half-back role for the first couple of rounds, just to embed him a little bit, and then he moves to sort of a wing half-forward role, maybe. We'll see about that, but that could open up Berry to score a little bit early on, but he's also got Sydney, where he's got tagging roles to do. Shoal, he's a winger. This is probably his best season, to be honest with you. I haven't really looked too much at Shoal and stuff like that. There's other guys from Melbourne and Carlton that we need to probably focus on outside of Hewitt. Hewitt could theoretically take another rise, but I have a feeling it's more the ball winner of like an Adam Cherry that's going to take that rise with the Nick Newman patella injury. That means that I feel like Doherty is going to move to halfback, or Holland, and so that's going to open up Cherry just fractionally, I feel like, to roam in that midfield a little bit, because you do have the first year of Jagger Smith. Theoretically speaking, he shouldn't be taking the 100% points worth of Matt Kennedy, I don't feel like. So that should help generate some points there for Carlton in terms of that halfback, in terms of all that role there, that I feel like he could pick up some points there. But that'll be probably Chera, but we'll talk that later. Dom Sheed is just too old, to be honest, to be picking. It feels like he's too old. It feels like he's been 32 for the last 3 years, but I just feel like that midfield sort of moved past Sheed, to be honest with you. Jack Crisp, a guy that, and you probably heard me say this multiple times, and you'll hear me say it a lot with Callum Mills, the versatility of Crisp is probably killing off his fancy reliability, I would say, almost in a way, because he can move to that wing, which is almost like a death trap for most players. He can go on ball. When he's on ball, he scores hundreds and it's fun. When he's on the wing, he scores like 50s. It's not fun. And he can also go to half back where he averages like 80. So you can have almost in a 3-week span, he can score like 240 points, but it will be the most disjointed 240 points you have seen. So that's why he's just not that fun to own. And that's why I just don't see it with the Collingwood midfield with Ed Allen and also Harry Di Mattia potentially as well coming into that fold there. So yeah, I just don't see him getting a non-ball role. I see mostly potentially a wing role for him. Durham's definitely an interesting one, but we get to see him in round 0, so we'll see how he goes. But he's definitely, because he's got that round 0 and price point there, I feel like he could be that type of guy that jumps, but we'll just have to wait and see. But I'm not putting too much on that just because he sort of already had that role and it would be natural progression. That would be that, and that's the hardest one to find out of the values, I find. Mason Wood playing that wing role or sort of that third tall, I think, in the forward line, but might not have to now that they have King, Sharman, probably Romo down there as well. It could probably help his scoring a little bit, but we'll just have to wait and see where he more. But his versatility, again, like I was saying with Crisp, it can limit his scoring a little bit. Hopper, he's just injured. Will Ashcroft, I think had a slight setback in his recovery or from a shoulder surgery or whatever. But yeah, so I think he's just on a little bit of a watch list at the moment. I'm trying to remember exactly what the training note said for the likes of Brisbane. Let me just bring it up. I'm pretty sure I bookmarked it, so I can bring it up later, but let's just bring it up now. Yeah, so he had rehab group after minor surgery on shoulder over summer. So yeah, that is, I think, what it is. I want to say, yeah. So I'm pretty sure he's the one that's had the shoulder surgery, but I'm pretty sure people are also getting the brothers confused as well, because, yeah. But we'll just have to wait and see with that. Could be wrong, as I've seen conflicting things. Trent Rivers, we talked about him in the defenders. Xavier Dersman, no, I just don't. I like his positioning, to be honest. The wingers, unless he goes Errol Gordon levels, which we really haven't seen from Xavier Dersma. I'm even getting the brothers confused there. Another set of brothers. Yeah, I just don't see it sort of flicking for him to generate to that 100 marker that it probably needs. Parker's a forward. Setterfield, does he even get back into the side? I wouldn't be surprised if he has a niggle or whatever that gets him out of the side. I just think that they probably move past him. It sucks because he's 26 and should be entering his prime, but he never really has hit the ground running, I don't feel like. So will definitely be an interesting one to see the Essendon training notes with regards to Setterfield, but from memory, I can't see anything. Because, yeah, you can see, I'm just looking at the bookmarks that I've got. It's Will Ashcroft in rehab group, not Levi in one of the posts, and it says Levi in the rehab group, not Will in another post, so they're very, very conflicting. Yeah, Setterfield, I just don't know. I haven't seen anything on him recently, but we'll just have to wait and see with regards to that, with regards to him and how that plays out there. But yeah, as I said, haven't seen anything on Essendon, and yeah, so there's that one. Just going back through my notes here, the last Essendon one would have been pre-Christmas. So yeah, I just don't. Let's see. Nothing on him. Trained away from the main group in December, but that was early December, so not much there. We'll probably get an update in the next couple of days. Tom Mitchell, injured, I'm pretty sure. Bailey Scott, I don't know what role he's going to play, and that's probably a bad thing. Like I said with Crisp, can play halfback, can play on the wing. I suspect probably a wing role, but we'll just have to wait and see on that one. Jordan De Goey, impact midfielder that's injury prone, no thank you. Paddy Dangerfield, same thing. Ed Langdon, probably on the wing, I suspect. But yeah, I just don't see him. The wingers, they always seem to be in this territory. Don't see him doing much. Scott Pendlebury, I think he's finally starting to decline a little bit. I think he's also very versatile, so I think he could take just sort of Mr. Fix-It type roles for Collingwood at this point, so I don't like him. Neil Bullen's a forward. McInerney is a winger, and I just feel like Goulden's the dominant wing, so McInerney's probably not going to score too much. I feel like McInerney's probably going to be almost a decrease in value just because he's going to affect other people around him, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, with Matty Roberts. He's also currently in Qatar for not necessarily... it's not necessarily knee rehabilitation. It's more so just knee injury prevention, I would say, at this point, given that he came back and played, and just sort of how they can keep him on the park better. Pretty much what Darcy's been going to go over there for, but he's been over there for, I think, a week or two at this point. So yeah, that could keep him in the side longer, and that would be a little bit annoying for Matty Roberts, as he did have the, MCL injury against North in like round 16 last year. Tommy Powell, I just don't know what role he's going to play. Is he going to play half forward? Is he going to play on ball? Is he going to be on a wing? Is he going to play half back? He is just so versatile that, just cannot select him. Bose, I just don't... What role is he going to... There's so many just guys that play differing roles here that I just don't like Bo's pick. And that's probably noticeable around the community with 0.09% ownership. Baker's a forward. Wardlaw, you're predicting outputs in terms of natural progression value rather than anything else. I don't think he... And if I can go to here, and yes, there will be some type of role change value that you'll see if we go to the CBAs, because I think Wardlaw is going to be in and around that 55% range. 66, there's not much room to maneuver there at 66% for Wardlaw in terms of CBAs. So it would be basically natural progression that you're hoping for. And priced at 78, you're probably going to need to see him go 95, if not 100. And I'd just honestly at that point rather go for a guy that is, as you see here, that he had no injury games either. I'd rather see a guy go from historical value or injury value at that point, given his price point. And the guys we'll get to in a second. D'Ambrosio, a winger, can't do much more, I don't think. Especially with the two defenders that they're bringing in Battle and Barras. It kind of opens up the other defenders that had to play slight lockdown roles, and I feel like that could impact D'Ambrosio a little bit negatively, that they are able to move up the ground a little bit more, take just one or two. All it takes is one or two possessions off naturally, and he could average 78 again. That natural progression could almost be stored just by that freeing up of those other defenders, or like Sicily may move forward at points, but he could also be back and Sicily's going to take some points off D'Ambrosio. Clayton Oliver, this is why I don't want to go for George Wardlaw, and I think that's why most of the community doesn't want to go with George Wardlaw, 1.45%, because you just have Clayton Oliver, who's a historical 30 point per game highest scorer, sitting there right at the same exact price pretty much. 0.5. He's 6k cheaper, so you get 6k cheaper for a historical value guy. I just like that better than natural progression. It's as simple as that. Because yes, you can have all the hype in the world, but I'd rather have seen that hype in previous. And we know that there was injury factors around with Clayton Oliver's dip, as well as just the season from hell from Melbourne's point of view. So I also like the fact that Petrarca is going to be back. Whether he's actually pickable is another question, but he should be back in the fold. Max Gawn's back as well from that, voice box injury or whatever. So Clayton Oliver, I should say, should have his service there available to him, as well as having new guns in Harvey Langford, who can sort of crash the pack in the midfield for him there as well, and better probably kicks off halfback in Lindsay, or the wing in Lindsay. So yeah, I really like this Clayton Oliver pick at the moment, and that's why he's 42% owned. Walpole, I just think we've seen the best out of him. Kennedy's a forward. Callaghan, you're betting on natural progression, which I don't mind if he does go off in round 0, but given the stocks of the GWS midfield, if he gets a role, and I just want to check the CBAs for GWS here. Let's just check the CBAs in 2024. We did see Callaghan have 43%. There is definitely room for him to improve. If we go to Callaghan here, I think you will see potential improvement there if we just go to CBA games, when he had high CBAs like above 40%, let's just look at that. You're probably going to see that there was no improvement at all or something. Let's just quickly check this. Above 40% CBAs, he averaged 79.2, and on the year he averaged 76.9. So there isn't much there other than basic natural progression, I would say, for him. But yeah, we'll just see how that goes, because if you do look at the back end of the year, post-buy, I want to say, it doesn't really improve too much either. So yeah, it's just going to be a natural progression thing with Finn Callaghan. If we go and say above 50%, let's just see if that helps him in any way, shape or form. Let's just see. Does that help him at all? It doesn't look like it at all. So yeah, it's fully a natural progression type of scenario for Finn Callaghan, which kind of sucks because I would like to see him have some type of other markers to say that he's a good pick. But yeah, natural progression is just so hard to pick, in my opinion. Cornelio, a guy that has had historical value in the past. We had him as a forward a couple of years ago. I just don't know about this pick too much, because feels like he's had too many injuries, to be honest with you, and I'm pretty sure someone else did in the GWS preview. They on another channel, I want to say that they said that Cornelio, or it might have even been the Ball Boys, said that even if you take out all the injuries, he's still only averaging 85 or 84 in a year, and that just isn't what we want out of him. So yeah, there were signs that he's sort of slowed down a little bit, I want to say. Saligo, I don't know what role he's going to play. Is it going to be wing? Is it going to be on ball? Versatility there, because of his speed, is probably not the best thing, as well as I don't want to be nixed, because that is a major thing alongside being bevoed. Just because that Adelaide midfield is probably a little bit of a mess at the moment. Jace Burgoyne could play at halfback and take some of those Houston points, but I have a feeling he's going to be playing on the wing. Sam Doherty, a guy that I definitely want to watch in pre-season. A guy that could occupy that M5-M4 role for me, as definitely will be interesting to see, because I feel like he's the one that takes over the likes of the Nick Newman. I keep on forgetting his name. That halfback role, and if he does, that's a 90-95 probably at least. Could return to 100 type of guy. But they also have Ollie Hollands there, so we just want to see it, I think, in the trial games to see what goes on there, who's going to play there, because that'll be critical, I feel like. So yeah, definitely a guy that I'm intrigued about, and he's sort of in that raffle of about 5 or 6 750 to 800k players for that M4-M5 slot, alongside Oliver at this point. Simpkin, Lloyd, Williams, no one here that I really like. Should probably speed this up a little bit. Will Day, a guy that we get to watch in opening round, if I'm not mistaken. Plays the Swans in opening round, which is a horrific fixture to get some sort of knowledge on him. It's because he's gonna cop a tag, I have a feeling, given that they only have Newcomb will get a run by role with Rowbottom, and so and you'll probably have Nash on like a Heaney or a Warner. So there's going to be a lot of interchanging, tagging, roles, etc. from plays outside of the square in opening round. So certainly not a guy that I'm intrigued about, but it's going to be tough to make that call unless he goes and blasts the 120, and then you're just like, yep, there you go. There's the roll and there's the point scoring. Nash, Fiorini, Hunter Clark. No one here that I'm looking quickly at that I definitely like too much. A lot of them that I actually like are obviously in the different positions. Harley Reid's just an impact player. We see 67. That would have to be natural progression up to about 85, 90, which I don't see necessarily happening, to be honest with you. So there's a no there. Anyone else that I like too much? Just flying through these. These are a lot of... Ollie Holland's definitely a guy that I've sort of thought about for that M6 role, alongside like Peatling, which I'm sure we'll get to in a second as I see his name down there. This is all based on who gets that halfback role, because I basically have, as you would have seen there, can flip a Hollands to a Peatling and a Will Day to a Doherty, just depending on who gets the role there, because we know that someone's going to get the role. and someone's going to score pretty well. So there's sort of different options there. But Holland at halfback could easily be a 90 guy, and a 90 guy from a 62, even though it's not that sort of 100 keeper type of almost range, it's a massive upside, and it sort of gets you really, really good scoring there. So anything plus 30 or so at 62 is very, very valuable, and I don't think we're going to see too many guys in that midfield range do plus 30 outside of rookies. Maybe Clayton Oliver, maybe Doherty, but outside of that, I don't see there being maybe Will Day. There's only like 3 or 4 guys that can do it in that range, and so I probably missed someone, but I feel like Ollie Hollands is just on a massive watch list at the moment because of the Nick Newman injury. It's sad to see Nick Newman go down. He's one of my favourite players, especially in the back end of last year when I made that big call to grab him in with about 5 weeks ago, and he went like 120. But yeah, it sucks, but that role is very, very lucrative in the Carlton backline, and it's going to be one of Hollands or Doherty, in my opinion, that gets it. So they're both on a watch list. Obviously, Hollands is currently in the side of that M6 role, but just to wait and watch there. Scrolling down a little bit more, heard some really positive signs out of Freo for the likes of Matt Johnson. It's just that midfield is stacked. Brayshaw, Sarong, Young, potentially Erasmus, Johnson. Murphy Reed's probably actually taken a little bit of a slow start to preseason, if my memory is correct from listening to the Freo tracker watch or sort of reading the lines there. No sign of, and you've also got Nat Fyfe there potentially as well. Yes, wrong spotted with new shoulder strapping. Didn't do track match sim, Erasmus, Nod, and Cooper Simpson all doing great things in the match sim there. So that's also another potential thing there with Nathan O'Driscoll in that mix as well. And Erasmus, who's a forward eligible player. And yeah, so Johnson being a ball and ball winning, he could be that guy that jumps up and just be a watch there if he gets the role. And so yeah, that will be interesting about that, and just going through the other stuff. Yeah, and you've even got Bolton, who could take some time in the CBAs as well. And obviously the guy that we valued about 3 years ago in Will Brodie could also take that next step up. Take the step up back to an AFL player, I should say. So yeah, just definitely interesting about that, but I don't think any more about him. It's just a wait and watch to see where he gets named. If he gets, he's probably going to get named in the 22, given that he played 19 games. Just, I don't know if he's going to be named on ball, because that midfield trio of Young, of Brayshaw, and of Sarong, alongside their fourth midfielder in Fyfe, is a very strong midfield still. So that's hard to break into. Peatling, I think he went to the likes of Adelaide because of the role. I think he could have easily gone to other clubs and gotten a similar-ish role, but there must be some confirmation that he's going to get that role. I also want to just check his... Peatling is going to be a guy that shows massive potential in terms of... if we just go here and just show his CBAs above 40% or so, if we look at that... there we go. Even just, let's say 50%, or let's just keep that in the fold at the moment. You'll see 11 games above 40% CBAs for 88. If we increase that to 50%, then he goes up to 9 games, 92. If we increase that to even 55% or so, 93.5, and then you get the 58% there out of there, and you get up to 60%. You're looking at 6 games for 102.8. 60% I feel like is viable. Do I think he goes 102? No. Do I think he can go like 95 or so? Yes. 90 or so? Yes. So yeah, definitely a guy in consideration there. And probably the guy that you go over Hollands. It's just a watch on what his role is in the trial, in the practice games, which are currently up on the AFL website, the dates for those as well. There's 2 rounds of things. There, Fletcher Wood, no. There's no one here that I'm too high on. Sardis is one that I've heard some really good things, but also some knockback things as well about still his kicking is a little bit off. Seems like he's still kicking off the back foot almost a little bit. So, yeah, we'll just see how that progresses and if he gets a spot in that Essendon midfield, because we know he's a gun. At 600k, he's priced at like, what, 59, 58? Yeah, 58.5, I want to say. 58.5, he could do 85 there quite easily. I feel like if he gets the role. Mackenzie, no. Bedford, no. And there's no one else here. Cummins had that injury that we're just going to have to wait and watch what happens there. I feel like he could do 90, but maybe there's other options presenting themselves that are probably more, don't have the preseason injury, alongside the fact that they probably have a better role fantasy-wise, but we'll just have to wait and see. Cumming is definitely one that's intriguing to say the least, but I also don't want to go like 3 or 4 deep on that Adelaide midfield and have it all, because someone's probably bound to fail, and you kind of don't want that, to have a bound to fail type of player. No one else here that I really am looking at too highly. Henry Hustwaite had some mentions, but just inflated price at the moment from that rookie year of like an 86 or whatever, so, or an 83 in like one game or whatever. So yeah, not a guy that I'm too high on at that price. Probably more of a super coach pick than fancy. And then just going down here, I think it would pretty much in rookie range. The last guy I want to probably mention is Angus Sheldrick himself, and this just basically is a combination of a Callum Mills. We talked about it in the mid-pricer Defender edition, I think. That's basically him alongside Roberts and Mills almost has a sort of set points allotment, I would say, almost in a way. It's probably 270 point allotment. It's just whether, well, that I should say that that midfield position plus the 2 defender positions that are going to go to Mills, Roberts, and potentially Sheldrick, or like a Robbie Fox or someone like that. And when you take that into consideration, it kind of means that Sheldrick being priced at like 44 or whatever, 43.7. If he gets that role, I suspect he goes 85, 90, and that's plus 40. But if he doesn't get the role, obviously not an option. So yeah, it's just that interesting dynamic that I think I talked about in the team preview on a Supercoach podcast. But yeah, just, and how that has the same almost fancy relevance there. Anyway, moving on. O'Driscoll we talked about, I think, with the regards to, who was that, Matthew Johnson, and how we mentioned he was doing really well. So he's just a watch there. Midfield only is a little bit annoying. Would love him to have forward status. Ed Allen as well has been ripping up the track as well, and sucks that he had that really good game to finish it. I think it was like an 80 odd. But let's just double check. Yeah, 87. Sucks because if he was mid-price or even in the 300s or high 200s, massive buy there. But yeah, that sucks. And then Erasmus, he's one that's just been tearing it up in the waffle. So we'll see if he gets a game. But as I said, very, very tough to break into that midfield. But obviously is a forward. But I just wanted to mention him there. And then I think we're pretty much done for midfielders, getting down to rookie price. McCall I've heard some really good things about, and obviously Jackson Binns as well is always there and thereabouts for Carlton. But that is the video. They're going through the mid-price madness in the midfield for AFL Fantasy 2025. If you did enjoy that video, remember to like and subscribe, turn the notification bell on so you know when I upload with all the other additions. You'll have the Ruck video out tomorrow, as well as the premium forwards, which is pretty much about 5 guys. Out in, or I might include the top end of those sort of value guys that I would say. That'll be out in a couple of days, and then you'll have the that'll be out on the Sunday actually, I think, or I might double record on the Friday to get one out on the Saturday, and then you'll have on the Sunday or the Monday the mid prices for the forwards, and then we'll have the rookies on the day after that. But anyway, if you are listening on Spotify, give me a follow and a rating, and I'll see you guys for the next video tomorrow. Bye guys.